রুমে চলে আসছে,
আচ্ছা, বুঝছি।
ইয়ে করা যায়, বুঝো নাই?
হুম হুম হুম। হ্যাঁ, এই সমস্যা।
এই মাহবুব ভাই, আপনি আপনার এখান থেকে জয়েন করলে অসুবিধা নেই। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই। আমার এখানে ওই ছেলেটা মাঝে মাঝে ইয়ে দিলে হলো। কাছে থাকি না এখানে, ব্যাক ইয়া কোনটা, ওইটা এদিকে আনে কেন তো? বেল এটা, হম, না না না, বেল বেল ওইটা, সুস, হ্যাঁ, আসা যাবে হাতের কাছে।
দুজন ছুটিতে আছে স্যার, নাস্তা বানাতে হবে, আমার থাকতে হইতে পারে।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, এখন পরে আবার কথা। ওইখানে লোকজন আসলে চা দিন।
আরেকটা লোক আছে ছেলে, ওকে এখানে দাঁড়িয়ে রাখছি,
বেরোবে।
তো দৌড়ে আসবো। ঠিক আছে।
হ্যাঁ,
ইসলামিক, তা আমরা 10 মিনিট হয়ে গেছে আমাদের।
রোহাইনি আছে
65।
আমাদের রিসোর্স পারসন। হুম,
হ্যাঁ, দেখতে পাচ্ছি তো মনে হয়।
জি জি।
হ্যাঁ, হুম, ওনার হয়তো নামটা একটু চেঞ্জ করে ইয়ে করলে ভালো হবে। আমাদের
Dr. Rohani, could you please rename your
Doctor, can you hear me?
Hello, Dr. Rohini. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. They are going to start now. Doctor, could you please?
Dr. Rohini, can you please rename your name?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Rohini.
I think we may start now
Yeah.
with permission of chair.
Okay, we can start, no problem.
Respected President of ICMAB, the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of Bangladesh, respected resource persons of today's webinar on sustainable Islamic social finance ecosystem, Dr. Ruhaini Muda, respected discussant, Dr. Mohammad Nazmul Haq, both the Islamic scholar and finance scholar from University of Technology, Malaysia. I'd like to thank our president, Dr. Mohammad Salimuddin, for taking initiative of having such an important webinar. Being a Muslim-dominated country, most of our members, they basically wants to know about Islamic social finance ecosystem so that they can avoid with the rules and regulations of Islamic fiqh and laws. So this is very important for our personal interest, and also this is very important for the country as well. We are lucky that we have Dr. Ruhaini Muda with us. She is not only a teacher, at the same time, she had quite long experience in research on basically Islamic social financial systems. Before joining the university, she also worked in Malaysian Investment Development Authority. We all know that how this Malaysian Investment Development Authority played pivotal role to become a developed economy. So she has got experience working in that MIDA as well. She also worked in University of Cambridge, UK. Definitely with her insight and long research experience, we'll be hearing from her. Our discussant, Dr. Mohammad Nazmul Haq, also is a faculty of accounting and in the same university, University of Technology. And he has got a degree on Islamic fiqh as well, master's degree in Usul al-Fiqh. So it means he has got very clear understanding about the Islamic fiqh, and also he's a scholar in the field of accounting as well. So this is a very rare combination, we should say. And I strongly believe that today's webinar will definitely help us to understand the Islamic social finance ecosystem and how, as an institute and the members of the institute, we can play important role in promoting this Islamic social finance ecosystem in a country like Bangladesh, where most of the population are basically Muslims. So I'll not linger my prelude. I'd like to request our president to take over and to have his inaugural speech, and then hand over the microphone to our honorable paper presenter, Dr. Ruhaini Muda. Thank you very much. And I also thank the participants. I see participants are increasing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, the chairman of the seminar and conference committee and our immediate past president, Mr. Abdur Rahman Khan, FCMA. He is also the additional director of the Ministry of Finance for his nice introduction. And we have our very learned keynote presenter and already introduced by our chairman, Mr. Abdur Rahman Khan, Dr. Ruhaini Muda, Associate Professor, Faculty of Business and Management, and UITM Malaysia. And also we have a very learned discussion. Dr. Muhammad Nasmul Haq, he is also Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Accountancy, and UITM Malaysia, and our all council member present here, and the members of the institute, and all the participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Today's topic is very, very important and very significant also in our country like Bangladesh, as where the most of the population is Muslim, and in the context of our SDG implementation 2030, and in a lot of background we have that today's topic is very important to disseminate the Sharia finance in Bangladesh, basically. If you say today's topic is sustainable Islamic social finance ecosystem. If you break down the word of the topic today, this is the synoptic topic. Our full topic is the fostering trust and adding the value towards a sustainable Islamic social finance ecosystem. If you analyze the total topic, you will get the number of words. Number one is sustainable. That is totally related with the goal of the government and the goal of the sustainable development goal, and the Islamic and social and the finance and the ecosystem. It is very important. If you say finance, social finance, if you break down all the word, you will get the very meaningful word about the today's topic. We will learn from the keynote presentation the sustainability and sustainable finance, and the Islamic finance and the Islamic social finance, and the total ecosystem of the social Islamic finance in one hand. If we go back to the date, you will see just some of the today's topic, significance of the topic, the rationality of the topic, how it is important, and the topic so only here about the adding with the socialism know, if we go to the Islamic finance, was basically designed at the birth of the Islam to stop the economic exploitation. This is the main purpose. You see, wealth, society, wealth, balance, wealth in the society, and stop the economic exploitation. And another, you see, to ensure the main purpose of the Islamic finance is to improve the social justice through the wealth redistribution and fair financial dealing. This is very important for the today's topic. If you see the global statistics, according to the London Stock Exchange corporate report, today's the size of the commercial finance has already been at $1 trillion global. It will reach $6.6 trillion by 2027. You see, come to the point, our today's main, the Islamic social finance. If the crude of the is three types, the crude of the Islamic social finance. Number one is philanthropy. Number two is a mutual cooperation. Number three is the investment model. Then I am giving the philanthropic and the mutual cooperation can be used, always we use for the immediate humanitarian aid in emergency, and which include the zakat, this and that. I will just complete, just later on I will see that. We need, basically in Bangladesh, I am telling if we just share the Bangladesh experience, say as a House Building Finance Corporation chairman, I can assure you we have a sustainable social finance in Bangladesh also is thus getting the momentum. Say I am telling House Building Finance Corporation, we already got the 1,500 crore taka from Islamic Development Bank and already signed it is the government company. It is in government level. Already Islamic Development Company already last month sanctioned the 3,000 crore taka for giving the housing loan. And we introduced that loan as a Sharia compliance laws. We call it Manji. Then we are spreading this loan, and their condition is that just give the loan as a green building house construction, green building house, and peri-urban area, not the urban area. To just give the loan, the person who are not able to construct a house for their living purpose. That's one of them. And if you go for the lot of Islamic Bank, especially Islamic Bank Bangladesh Limited, they have the two scheme. One is RDS, Rural Development Scheme, and another scheme is the UDS, Urban Development Scheme. That are fully operating in Bangladesh, and so many microfinance, Islamic microfinance institution who are offering the Sharia, based on the Sharia product, and to the rural people, to the poor people. That's why this is the Bangladesh position. I'm not discuss the very in details. Well, you see, we need in Bangladesh, basically in Bangladesh, for the ecosystem of the social Islamic finance, we need the integrated model of the social ISF, we call Islamic social finance, to accelerate the transformation of the poor towards the prosperity. The integrated model of the social Islamic finance is implemented, basically globally is implemented. We call it through the 4 year. 4 year. Year 1, year means economic rescue. Year means economic recovery. Year means economic reinforcement. Year means economic resilience. By integrating the Islamic social finance instrument through sustainable way. That is in a very sustainable way in the ecosystem. All the parties of the ecosystem to be sustainable. Otherwise, it is not the possible to disseminate the social finance, Islamic social finance. That's the another side. And there is in Bangladesh already we have all the Sharia-based banking. We have a zakat. We have a lot of things. Zakat. Especially in Bangladesh, we have a Islamic social finance instrument we are using already, especially using by the Islamic Sharia-based banking, zakat, infaq, AMS, WAQ, Qard Hasna, and the grant and microfinance, and a lot of things we are using already by the Sharia banking. As in zakat, in Bangladesh, we still believe as a redistribution mechanism, helping to reduce the wealth inequality and elevating the poverty. But in the public sector or the government, there is still lack of the what is called the regulation about the zakat, but there is a Sharia-based banking and other social organization. They are acting very seriously in Bangladesh. Though it is the number of social institution is very few, but still is there working in line with the global trend. As a global Muslim population, as a 1.8 billion already is crossed, and the estimation of the zakat, in the globally is ranging from 200 million to the $1 trillion US, and that's why what I am telling you, just I am trying to give you the rationality of the today's presentation, how it is very important, it is very useful in our day-to-day life, and we have to understand the social Islamic finance for rescuing our people from hazard, economic hazard, or who are in humanitarian, in everything, everywhere, the Islamic microfinance and takaful is working for the disadvantaged people in Bangladesh. Takaful is very important in the coastal area for the disadvantaged people, and they rescued a lot of people from poverty towards the prosperity and adding the value to the economy. With these few words, I just congratulate in advance our keynote presenter, and very thankful and grateful to the keynote speaker and the learned discussion agreed to offer the paper from the Malaysia and to enlighten us about the Islamic financing, and that today's paper will give us the flow to study the Islamic financing and to disseminate the Islamic financing among the participants who are very enlightened, who are the member and who have a very prestigious degree they have, and they will understand everything. And the seminar, the webinar will be successful, I think, hope. And again, I thanks and grateful to our chairman, Mr. Abdul Rahman Khan, and our Dr. Rohani Moda, keynote presenter and discussion, Dr. Muhammad Nasmul Haq. With this few words, I am not taking too much time. I will just hand over our microphone and welcome our today's keynote presenter, Dr. Rohani Moda, to present the paper. Thank you so much. And after presenting, I think Dr. Rohani Moda will just welcome Dr. Muhammad Nasmul Haq for discussion, and you will give the floor if any question from the floor, just give the chance, 5-10 minutes, then we will conclude the session. Thank you so much. Thank you, please, Dr. Rohani Moda. Yeah, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good evening to all of you, especially our chairman of the webinar, Mr. Muhammad Abdurrahman Khan, and also our special president, Professor Dr. Muhammad Salim Udin, and also Dr. Nazmo, and all the participants. I'm so grateful to be invited and also sharing in particular about the landscape of Islamic social finance. So I would like to share the presentation.
You share the presentation.
Okay, thank
Directly.
you.
Yes, we can see it here.
Okay, thank you very much. Especially what Dr. Muhammad Salim just now explaining about what is the social finance, and it is actually a very good and relevant to my discussion. It's about on the Islamic finance. In particular, we are talking about sustainable Islamic social finance in terms of the global scenario and also our current situation. It is a very enlightened about what you already discussed to establish the context of discussion today. I would say my sharing, because my discussion is actually about a case study focusing on the Malaysian social finance landscape. Even though we are talking about Malaysian scenario, what Professor already discussing about the establishment of this discussion of the importance of the unique role of how Islamic finance can be able to provide a good contribution to the Islamic social finance, especially in particular, if we talking about the social finance, we are talking about some refer as a third sector. So it is very important discussion, again, especially if you are talking about from accounting perspective as well as economic perspective, because we can say that if you are talking about accounting perspective, where currently we are discussing about ESG, if we discuss about the SDG also, the values embedded in those particular discussion of the ESG, for example, is actually embedded with what the Islamic financing is already discussed or highlighted about the importance of the contribution and the role of Islamic finance. In particular, today we are talking about the social finance. So I really thankful to the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of Bangladesh to allow from perspective finance to be able to discuss in this webinar. So the context of what the discussion today, we are focusing on the socials already highlighted, able to be used as a promotion of the social financing. Okay, for example, if you're talking about zakat, wakaf, and also endowment. But from my experience, if you're talking about a different, what we call it as a mechanism of the Islamic social finance, we are not talking about the debating about the fiqh, okay? Because if you are presenting certain boundaries, for example, if you are in the United Kingdom, for example, so they are talking about the discussion of fiqh because we have a very diverse perspective. But my discussion today, I'm focusing about one of the unique characteristic of the mechanism in the Islamic social finance, that is zakat, where we are focusing on the corporate zakat. After that, we are establishing the research context in terms of Malaysia, how Malaysia utilize this component or mechanism of Islamic social finance, which will be able to be utilized by the government as well as the society. Okay, so for the introduction, as we discuss about the social finance, or sometimes we are talking about focusing on the third sector, okay, where if you are talking about social finance and Islamic finance, in particular, if I would share in terms of the Malaysian scenario, this component of Islamic finance is really play a greater role in the Malaysia financial landscape. Okay, in particular to promote a greater social resilience, especially after COVID, or even though the initiative started by the government is before the crisis, but then we can see that how Islamic social finance is able to be a very unique role during the crisis as well as currently, where in Malaysia we are also talking about how the government effort, okay, to promote this Islamic social finance using the mechanism available by or within the context of Islamic finance. So to establish the context of discussion, as mentioned by Professor just now, we are talking about the global reports. In terms of the economy, we are talking about, Professor mentioned about the ER, the economic recovery, the economic resilience. We are talking about how the global scenario, the component of the one economy, we are talking about how resilient should be, but we can see that how the government trying to manage the global crisis, where you're talking about the geopolitical, for example, and also we have in terms of the labor market condition. So at the global level, we might talk about how resilient the economy is facing in order to be sustainable, but to the end of the economy, okay, if we focus on, for example, in Malaysia, we focus in the context of a country, we notice that this global and also the domestic challenge would really affecting the social sector. So today, I would like to share how in Malaysian case, we are trying to manage focusing on the Islamic finance landscape, how the availability of the mechanism in the Islamic finance would really be a unique role to help the social sector. Okay, so to bring the social landscape, I'm focusing on the experience of Malaysia, whereby how certain Islamic component in the Islamic finance, for example, in particular in my discussion here, I would like to share in terms of the corporate zakat, give a significant social and economic impact. It started way before the crisis, and currently during the crisis we can see that the synergy from the public sector as well as the private sector to contribute significantly to the social sector. So here I would like to share, this is adopted from Bank Negara Malaysia to show that the common characteristic of Islamic finance in Malaysia. So we can see that in Malaysia, the scenario of Islamic social finance, in particular, we are talking about the types of fund available in Malaysia. The zakat, we are talking about zakat is significantly contributed as a one of types of funding available in the Islamic social finance. Beside other component of donation and also wakaf and other social investment account. In that case, in Malaysia, we can see that how the government initiative trying to provide a platform and also regulatory in terms of supporting the third sector, or we call it as a social sector, whereby the challenge is that the government trying to highlight the opportunity to strengthen the social finance. So one of the component or the opportunity to strengthen the social finance, in particular, regardless we are talking about the Islamic finance, is one of the component is impact-based monitoring. So meaning to say, in order to synergize the social fund, regardless from which type of fund, we are talking about donation, wakaf, or zakat, and other source of fund, the issue is that the trust issue between parties, for example, we are talking about those who are paying zakat, demand more transparency, and also we are talking about how the government can provide a platform or the ecosystem in the third sector to support the overall flow of the ecosystem. And then in this case, Bank Negara Malaysia last year discussing about one of the component to strengthen the ecosystem in the social finance is impact-based monitoring. So today I'm focusing about zakat and then how zakat can be utilized, or how zakat as a component of social finance can play a unique role and a better role in terms of contributing to the social sector based on the impact-based monitoring. So that is the scenario I would like to focus on. So when we talk about the demand of the trust within the ecosystem in the social financing, we are talking about the concerted effort of a set of stakeholders in the ecosystem. We are talking about the public sector, that is the government, how the government should play their roles to support the ecosystem. If you are talking about the trust issue within the ecosystem, and then the private sector. So in terms of the private sector, in Malaysia, we also have one of the unit component of zakat, where we call it as a corporate zakat. By definition, the corporate zakat itself is a kind of zakat paid by the organization. So in Malaysia, the government provide a good or a kind of platform for companies to pay zakat, where we call it as a corporate zakat, to directly contribute to the social sector. And then this is how what we call it as a PPP, public-private partnership program, where the government and the private sector be a set of stakeholders to contribute to the society. So the component of three component of public sector, private sector, and the social sector, which is we are focusing on the beneficiary for the social sector. So in terms of how this ecosystem should be managed, in particular by the government, who provide the initiative and also a good platform to other stakeholders to play their roles in terms of to bridge the trust within the stakeholders. We are talking about the private sector who provide the fund through maybe zakat, wakaf, and also the public sector who trying to provide a good platform to other sectors such as the private sector and the society. So there are three main components where in Malaysia we are focusing in terms of how the concerted effort among the stakeholder should be emphasized, where the characteristic we are talking about the transformative, socially inclusive, and sustainable. So today I would like to share a kind of this is introduced by World Bank, but in Malaysia before 2018, we have a specific agency who are trying to provide a platform to represent the government to manage this social sector in terms of providing funding by the private sector, where this agency is being established to be a kind of role to bridge the trust gap between the stakeholders. The mechanism is known as a public-private partnership. As I mentioned that the focus is about to bridge the trust and also to utilize the resources in terms of the expertise from the government as well as the public sector and the private sector. And the beneficiary here, we are talking about the government will identify the most significant and crucial sector or component of the social issues. So from there, they expect that the private sector would provide funding to the specific sector. Sector here, we are talking about the social issue. And then the public sector will be a moderator in terms of establishing or supporting the ecosystem. So, however, the issue in terms of the third sector, whereby getting the funding, we are talking about the general funding. And now in Malaysia, we provide the Islamic finance where the companies, they are able to provide or pay corporate zakat, whereby the corporate zakat, they're able to utilize directly to the social sector, or in Malaysia for just to share the information, the scenario or the context of Malaysia, whereby zakat is managed by agency owned by the government. Okay, so we call it as a centralized by states. So companies will pay zakat directly to this agency, which is under government. And then from here, they will manage the zakat, regardless we are talking about zakat paid by the companies or by the individual. So here we are talking about the very important role by this public agency representing by the government, okay, representing the government to provide a good platform to manage the social sector. However, in Malaysia, there are also issues in terms of the trust gap between the stakeholder, how this fund is managed and be utilized by the society. So to move forward, the government also provide a mechanism where we call it as an impact-based monitoring. So to discuss further in the landscape of Islamic social finance, we are focusing on the corporate zakat. So just to share, the corporate zakat in Malaysia is a very significant amount. This is, we are talking about the current payment of the zakat. However, there are still some debates about the legality of or the requirement of corporate to pay zakat. Okay, especially if we are talking about it's a kind of voluntary in the ecosystem. But then some, if we discuss about the Security Commission, where they provide certain guideline to the industry to make sure that certain companies, those who want to pay zakat will get some rebate in terms of the paid zakat, okay? Rebate in terms of tax payment. Same goes to the individual. So this is a very unique environment developed by the government to manage the Islamic social finance. Okay, to further illustrate what I already discussed about the corporate zakat management, whereby in Malaysia, we have a zakat institution or authorities is actually owned by the government. So the private and public sector here, we are talking about the organization and also the individual, where the zakat payment will be go into the zakat institution. So the zakat institution will channel this zakat money to the beneficiary. In the case here, we are talking about the social sector, among others. And then the framework of the distribution is basically, we are talking about the philanthropy and also a sustainable empowerment. Here we are talking about the needs or the needs of the beneficiary on the zakat, and also some of the zakat is a channel to provide a platform. For example, we are talking about to help Asnaf to develop their businesses. This is a kind of to empower this group, rather than we are talking about another platform or another channel is for the philanthropy to provide support to certain group of Asnaf. So these are some of the initiatives provided by Malaysian government in order to integrate the corporate zakat to promote a sustainable Islamic ecosystem. In particular, we are talking about the social finance. So just to share, in terms of the current situation, they also provide another platform to emphasize on the impact-based monitoring. So the framework in Malaysia, what we find significant will guarantee their funding through a mechanism of the independent impact assessor. So this flow or this ecosystem is actually to provide or to encourage the impact-based reporting by the SPO. SPO here, we are talking about the social purpose organization, or some refer to the non-governmental organization. So they are expert to manage the social sector or the social issue different issue then programs manage themselves go directly to manage that. And then the role of government is to monitor the fund utilized by the SPO or NGO in order to make sure that the fund is really impact the beneficiary. So in the ecosystem, the government also appoint what we call it as independent impact assessor. So their role is to make sure that the ecosystem, in particular the SPO, will need to provide the impact reporting from how they utilize their money. Their money here, we are talking about funding from the private sector, also the government, by beneficiary in the third sector. So these are some of the project example where they are getting funding from the private sector. So this actually the social issue which is identified by the government to provide the critical social issue at the current time. And the funder from the sector will support their, or we provide the to this NGO or SPO to do the what we call it as a social social activities to provide. For example, we are talking about to empower the woman headed household. To provide for in Malaysia. So this actually is identified by the government. The issue, but will be as a stakeholder to whether we are talking about the donation. This is how impact. Talking about the output, we also focusing in terms of impact. So the aim is we're about to highlight the value proposition of the creating values, not only to the beneficiary, but we are talking about to save the society or channeled by the corporate in the discussion, we emphasize on the impact assessment as an important mechanism, and especially if we are talking about the fund from the Islamic social finance, in order to bridge the gap between the stakeholder to make sure that the ecosystem in Islamic social finance to be sustainable. So I hope with a very short time, I would able to provide some insight, in particular in terms of Islamic social finance, focusing on a case study of Malaysia. So I think that's all.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ruhani. I'm pretty sure the audience was really getting the points, and I really enjoyed your presentation and the way you have sum up all the important factors that comprises in your ecosystem. So we are now going to listen from our discussion for the event today, Dr. Muhammad Nazmul Haq, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Accounting, University Technology Mara. So over to Dr. Nazmul Haq. Dr. Nazmul.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Respected President, Dr. MD, Prof. Dr. MD Salimuddin, and our chairman of this seminar and conference committee, and Mr. MD Abdulrahman Khan. I respected all the guests and my very good friend, Associate Professor Dr. Rohaini Mada. Thank you very much for your very, very nice presentation. I really enjoyed your presentation, and I hope our participants, they enjoyed your presentation. A lot of questions to you later on, I think. So first of all, I would like to thanks to organizer for giving this kind of opportunity. And I hope by this webinar, we started something new and our participants will be benefited from this webinar. As although my time is very limited, within 10 minutes, I have to say something. So from very specific area that Dr. Rohaini mentioned in her presentation for corporate zakat and how it is sustained in Malaysia perspective. And one of the very impactful assessment in Malaysia, I think, as she mentioned in her presentation, that transparency and accountability. So even though we know many organizations or government, they are collecting zakat or Islamic social finance, we have Waqf and other instruments, but the maintain the accountability and transparency is very difficult. And nowadays we can see the sustainable Islamic social financing is very, I mean, in some countries, we can see there are very limited access on this kind of instruments. So I knew that in Malaysia, Alhamdulillah, they are hub of Islamic finance, especially Islamic social finance, and they have started very new mechanism to sustain their society. One of these is zakat, and we have many more, especially the crowdfunding and waqf in Malaysia. So it is very I mean, socially is very renewable, and people are very encourageable to to send their zakat to the government in NGO, and government try to calculate the zakat, collect the zakat, and also their zakat recipient. Although there are some issue, it's very normal. Everything everywhere have some issue, but in terms of Malaysia, I think from the presentation, what we understood that they are thinking not only in social matters, they are thinking also to develop and sustain their educational matters. It is not only in Malaysia, if we see in other countries also, especially in even from the historical era, we can see that these Islamic financial instruments used to sustain the society, to sustain the educational institutions. If you look to the era of Abbasi, they used to tell that the golden age for educational institutions, and all the institutions were funded by society contribution. That is why it is, I found that from my research that the WACF and other Islamic social finance instruments very much developed from the historical era, and from the primary to the higher level of the WACF and other mechanism of Islamic social finance. Not only we talk about the historical era, if you see nowadays even in European countries, they are using endowment fund, which is concept of Waqf actually. So using endowment fund, they are developing huge fund to sustain their university. They do not need to get government fund from their university to control their university. They are not dependent with the. So from these three categories of the instruments, they are collecting huge fund every year, and they are trying to make contribution to the society as well, and also to the general people. In Malaysia context, also Wakaf and other Islamic social finance, especially used by the higher education entire, they are trying to collect the fund. Even our University Technology Mara, they are trying to use crowdfunding from the staff and society, and they are developing very big fund to contribute the society, and they are trying to sustain their educational matters also. So in my conclusion, I would like to say that for success factors of sustainable Islamic social finance, we need to focus on productivity. If there is no productivity by the society or by the authority, then funding matters will be very, limited. And another special element of factors, we can see that accountability. Also, Dr. Rohaini has mentioned many times that accountability need to address to develop a social financing, to develop funding in the country, so that society will be benefited by social funding. And obviously, to sustain the society, we need sustainable process. In certain cases, in some countries, we can see that they are distributing zakat to the poor, very minimum, even very few, currency or clothes, but it is not sustained. So we need to focus how we can help the society, and they become poor to wealthy. So they also in a few years they can contribute by their zakat. And obviously we need administrative self-sufficient, then we can collect and distribute very well, method. We can use the method which can be sustained in the society. So from our keynote presenters presentation, and I found that it is very so many things that I learned. So because of time limitation, I cannot highlight all these elements. So I hope our participants and will be benefited from our discussion and from our presentation. And in future, if we have time and we have a good field, we can share also, and also we can get some of the sharing from the participants. So with that, I would like to conclude, and I would like to thanks our keynote presenter, and also I would like to thanks to the organizer for organizing such a very fascinating webinar, and I hope it will be continued to the future event. And thank you very much. And thank you all the participants for listening our discussion. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Nizmul. So I'm glad to hear from you as well. As there were so many points you have added with Dr. Ruhani's presentation. Especially, I'm really moved by the way you have concluded it, focusing on the issues like productivity and sustainability. Now we may go for question answer session. So dear participants, if you have any question, you may raise hand, and uh, our IT may give you the access to ask questions. Before getting any question from the audience, I was quite moved by the presentation, and I was thinking about, as I'm sorry, I have not introduced myself. So this is Dr. Zakaria, and I'm working in ICMAB as the Director of Academic Affairs. So I was thinking, like, I actually wanted to know from your opinion, both from the keynote presenter and the discussant, what do you think about the role a professional body like ICMAB can play to confirm the social impact that Dr. Ruhani, you were mentioning, to confirm that value proposition of your presentation, creating value in the whole ecosystem?
Okay, Dr.
This is Zakaria.
Dr. Zakaria. Okay, thank you for the I call it as a thought to discuss. But in terms of if you're talking about the whether the professional body, like if you can say that, such as in Malaysia, we also have the Malaysian Institute of Accountants and also other professional body. Here we are talking about if you are focusing in terms of developing the professionals in the area, in terms of at the first stage, we are talking about in terms of the awareness to the professional, in terms of how the guideline, for example, in Malaysia, we also provide the professionals to get the recent guideline in terms of, for example, we are talking about the reporting of the disclosure of zakat in terms of the corporate level. So this is also be embedded in terms of the awareness to the professional. So in terms of the institute who get a very direct connection with the professional, it is a very good platform to make the awareness to this professional in terms of we are talking about if we are talking about the accounting perspective, the transparency and the accountability, and how this unique Islamic social finance would be able to be embedded as a values by the professional in terms of how the government trying to provide a platform or initiative, and also the awareness to this professional to together contributed in terms of supporting the sustainable social finance. In particular, we are talking about the Islamic social finance, because if we are talking about the disclosure in Malaysia itself, even though the government emphasized more on the guideline and also the initiative on the Islamic social finance, but in terms of the practice, for example, the level of disclosure of zakat by the corporates is quite minimal. For example, in the capital market, Islamic capital market, we can say that above 80% of the companies are Sharia listed. But in terms of the disclosure of the corporate zakat, is a very minimal, I would say maybe less than 10%. So when we talk about the professional in terms of the accounting profession, for example, not only about the awareness, but then in terms of the value proposition by the professional, especially accountants, they are together to provide support in terms of the disclosure of that kind of information. So I think that's all from me. Maybe Dr. Nazmo would like to add.
No, I think answer given based on the question is enough. For Islamic social finance, especially zakat, waqf, and crowdfunding, Islamic crowdfunding, one of the professional body is AUFI, Bahrain based, and they are trying to give all the guidelines for the professional bodies for every countries, especially even in Malaysia also they are trying to use sometime the AUFI guideline for Islamic social financing instruments. So this one also could be one of the guidelines from the AUFI, and they're helping for development of professional bodies. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we are glad to learn about this institute they are dedicated for this sort of job. Now we have a question from Mr. Asad, our associate member 1831. So is there anyone from IT? Mr. Mahbub, would you mind to allow Mr. Asad to ask the question?
So Mr. Asad already allowed.
Assalamualaikum. Yeah, Assalamualaikum. First of all, I would like to thank ICMAB for arranging such a such important and a distinguished program. And our guest has, I was going through the presentation, and I learned a lot of things, a lot of new things in perspective of Islamic, in particular social financing or empowering social finance in Islamic financing, with the Islamic financing, I think with the Islamic financing tools, in particular Jaka and Waqf talk about. So Dr. Nazmul Haq also mentioned about AUFI, and I was just wanted to know from our director about ICMAB could go in collaborative for our members in particular who are interested in learning Islamic finance and Islamic accounting system, because it is going to be very evolving for the professionals and the investor in Bangladesh as well. So if ICMAB in go collaborative with the AUFI or other body and launch some sort of educational or training programs for us, that could be beneficiary for us. And is there any plan or what we can think about this in the future? I think the question going to be going to our Dr. Zakaria sir.
Yes, thank you, Asad. I'm pretty sure this is the reason I was asking the same question to the resource person and the discussant. We should plan for advancement in different ways we can find in progressing our legacy. So for sure, we'll have a plan for that. We'll discuss about it in details as our resource person and the discussant, they have limited time. Yeah, I will prefer to have questions directed to them. And thank you for your suggestion, Asad, though. Now we have another hand raised by one of our member.
Yeah.
So may I request him to ask the question, please? All right, Mr. Mustafa. Yeah, Mr. Umar Farooq.
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam.
This is Umar Farooq, ACMA 1787. Can you hear me? Just a little
Yes,
bit, 10
Umar?
seconds.
Yes.
I need 10 second more time to prepare myself. Just a little bit. Sorry for that.
Okay, no worries. If we have any other person.
Now I am ready to provide a question towards our honorable guest from the outside the country. First of all, I would give a special thanks to the ICMAB authority for arranging such nice session, and it's a good discussion session for students as well as the stakeholders, beneficiary also, for collecting, gathering, as well as transferring knowledge regarding different issues. So my question to the foreign speakers regarding how can such system ICMAB like or ICAB or other professional body can absorb for actualization of such system for a country, because it's I think that through this system not only institute but also it can provide benefit for the whole country also, because I am a banker. In our bank present situation, like there's a sustainable financing, That's a revelation for sustainable financing, as global warming has heated hugely towards around the world. So like as this system also, how can you interrelate for ourselves as an accountant, or how can we interact with these topics? Thank you, sir. Over to you, Zakaria Masud sir.
Yes, so I think the resource persons, they got your question. You tried to link Islamic social finance with our current challenge, the global challenge, environmental issues. So anything to add by Dr. Ruhani or Dr. Nazmul?
Okay, thank you for the question. I may not able to discuss in detail, but I would like to add in terms of the critical social issue, like what we mentioned just now about the important role of the government to identify a specific or the critical social issue. For example, if you're talking about the climate change and also the access to education and other factors, a critical social issue. So leading to your question about a specific social issue, the government, I think, play a very important role to identify what are the significant or the most prominent social issue which should be utilized or should be focused in utilizing the social financing. So in the case of Malaysia, for example, the critical social issue is identified by the government by getting feedback from some other stakeholders, where we are talking about the SPO or NGO, and also from other government agency to focus on what are the critical issue. We are talking about how to really utilize a very limited social funding. If we are talking about the Islamic social funding as well as the other types of social funding, based on the critical issue, which is the government. Here we are talking about getting also feedback from the other stakeholders, where we are talking about the NGO who are going to the root of the social issue and all, Dr. Zakaria?
Yes, there was a technical glitch, so I think we are ready now. So yes, please continue.
Okay, I just would like to add one more thing. As Dr. Ruhaili mentioned that government should find the social issue. So beside the government, I think society also can play a vital role, I mean, an impactful role, because government only they cannot make the sustainable solution themselves if the society do not come forward to help. So any kind of social issue or environmental issue, we saw in Malaysia, once we have flood or something, any kind of environmental issue. So beside the government, private sectors authority and also society, educational authority, all are come forward together to support this issue, to solve this issue, and easily they could make the solveness. So I think this is the experience from the Malaysia. In other country, if we found the social issue, beside the government, society also have to involve, and society also come forward to support to maintain or to solve this social issue. So all together have to come forward to solve the issues. Then it will be, yeah, any country, any society will be, go forward, and they can check whatever they have issued, and then they will make the solution for future contribution. So I think that's all. Hope once we have time, maybe even we can discuss on that issue also a presentation, and also we can go forward with the discussion. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are going to take only one last question. Mr. S.M. Ariful Haq, one of our fellow member. So, Mr. Arif.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. My question is to the keynote presenter. As you have discussed that actually the money is coming from the corporate organizations, and it is being passed to the social organizations. As to zakat payment, we are aware that until and unless the zakat goes in the hand of the recipient, the zakat payment is not being fulfilled. So how would you ensure that zakat recipient, the end recipient, are giving the wakala or representation to these social organizations? And who would be, in charge of fulfilling this responsibility or identifying this authority that, yeah, they have actual wakala from the recipient? In Malaysian experience, what mechanism you have?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ariful. So this is a very important question, and not only asked by you, and because when we talk about in Malaysia, we also we are talking about the stakeholder here. Those who pay zakat is also questioning the same question. But for your information, what happened in Malaysia is that the amount of corporate zakat, in order for the company to get the recognition from the government, they have to pay to the corporate, or we call it a zakat institution. This zakat institution is agency established by the government. So they have a proper guideline and also the governance in terms of the organization of the entity, corporate entity of zakat institution. So these corporate companies, we need to pay to the zakat institution, and then the disbursement of the zakat money will be done by this zakat institution. Unless in Malaysia, they also provide a kind of wakalah, whereby the corporate zakat, they need to pay a certain amount of zakat to the government agency or zakat institution. And at the same time, they're able to get some, we call it as rebate, but it's actually, as you mentioned, it's about talking about the wakalah, whereby the corporate can also get back some amount of money. Money here, we are talking about the zakat already paid to the zakat institution to be disbursed by the corporation themselves, as well as the main portion will be managed by the zakat institution. So here we are talking about to reduce the issue of the trust gap by the, it's not only we are talking about the corporation, but we are also talking about the society. As you asking about this question, this is also asked by the society, how to make sure that this amount of zakat is really benefited by a group of asnaf. So here in Malaysia, what our practice is that zakat institution will monitor the disbursement of the zakat, even though they provide some kind of wakalah to the corporate to manage their own activities for the specific asnaf. But then at the end of the cycle year, they need to report to the zakat institution to provide the impact reporting of how they utilize the zakat. So I think that's all what we practice, but as you mentioned, the society and other stakeholders is also asking about this question. So the government is trying to provide some kind of transparency and accountability when we talk about the zakat money. So I think that's all what I can share. Maybe Dr. Nazmo also would like to add some on this issue.
I think Doctor already mentioned whatever I practice in Malaysia. So my opinion, maybe based on the perspective of Bangladesh, we still are not reach the Malaysian experience. So even though last time once I did my PhD, so I have some experience and case study, comparative study between Bangladesh and Malaysia. So I think from this experience that Malaysia are improving and developing their society by Islamic social financing instruments, Bangladesh also can take over. And I believe that Bangladesh has too many resources, too many public sectors, and also very administrative power who can work for developing our country by Islamic social financing. And yes, we have existed some of the development, and Malaysia have, I think, more than Bangladesh. So I think some of the element that Malaysia already developed, we can take the experience from the Malaysia. So this one, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Nazmul. I think we may conclude our session for today, but with a hope that we can have further collaboration focusing on more particular issues related to sustainable Islamic social finance ecosystem. So, dear participants, we have already shared the presentation of Dr. Ruhani in the chat box. You may download it, or later on you can also find this resource in our website in the resource section. So, Dr. Ruhani and Dr. Nazmul, thank you very much for your time and your contribution in progressing our initiatives and our actions towards making this institute an excellent institute. So thank you for your time. Hope to see you soon.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you.
Good, Doctor.
Assalamualaikum.
See you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.